Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Review for August 23, 2019. 60 Plus Chairman Jim Martin has written an op-ed entitled, How Congress May Increase Seniors' Healthcare Costs. Currently, there's a piece of legislation working its way through the halls of Congress that has the potential to alter the entire American healthcare system. The bill is guided by the best of intentions, the desire to save unwitting victims from the crushing devastation of unexpected healthcare expenses. But as so often happens, good intentions don't translate to good policy, and such is the case with the Lower Healthcare Cost Act, or the LHCC. It's a well-intentioned law, but, if enacted, would pose a threat to seniors everywhere. Like much of the legislation out of Washington, the LHCC is a knee-jerk reaction to the surprise medical billing crisis. Recently brought to the forefront of the public consciousness by the White House and a bipartisan coalition in Congress, surprise medical bills occur when insured patients receive emergency care from hospitals outside of their network of providers. Those suffering are frequently not in a state to choose the care center themselves, and yet insurers will often refuse to pay, saddling the patient with bills that can total hundreds of thousands of dollars. If enacted, the LHCC would establish a system in which healthcare providers are paid a median in-network rate for all out-of-network services they provide. The median in-network rate, of course, would be substantially less than the comparable out-of-network rate. Effectively, the legislation would impose a price control scheme over the entire healthcare industry, a proposition that will assuredly and predictably backfire. We would strongly encourage you to read the full op-ed by clicking on the link in the description below. An article from the Washington Examiner states, Harry Reid knocks 2020 field on immigration and healthcare. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says the far-left positions of some Democratic presidential candidates are jeopardizing the party's chances of beating President Trump in 2020. The longtime elected official from Nevada, in a Vice News interview, specifically blasted proposals to provide Medicare for all and to decriminalize illegal crossings from Mexico into the United States. Reid served as Senate Majority Leader from 2007 to 2015 and Minority Leader for 2 years before and after. Known as a wily legislative tactician, the blunt-spoken Reid said the Medicare for All proposal, a favorite of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, isn't politically realistic. How are you going to get it passed? Reid said rhetorically. Reid also called for a more moderate approach to countering illegal immigration, implicitly criticizing the border decriminalization approach advocated by 2020 Democrat Julian Castro, a former San Antonio mayor and Housing and Urban Development Secretary. Reid went on to say, There are so many more important things to do. Decriminalizing border crossings is not something that should be at the top of the list. It should be way, way down at the bottom of the list. People want a fair immigration system. They don't want an open-door invitation for everybody to come at once. And finally, Fox News reports, in latest gaffe, Biden places King-Kennedy assassinations in the late 70s. They say if you can remember the 1960s, you probably weren't there. Well, Joe Biden missed by about a decade Tuesday evening when he mentioned two significant events of the 1960s, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. The gaffe came during a speech in Iowa, while the 76-year-old Biden was comparing the years of his young adulthood to the current day. During the event, Biden recalled, just like in my generation, when I got out of school, when Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King had been assassinated in the 70s, the late 70s when I got engaged. But King and Kennedy were murdered in 1968, about 2 months apart. It was just the latest in a series of slip-ups for the Democratic Party's 2020 presidential frontrunner. Last Friday, at a fundraiser in his home state of Delaware, Biden confused Burlington, Iowa and Burlington, Vermont, while trying to remember where he had given a campaign speech. The towns are about 1,100 miles apart. He has also confused former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher for Theresa May twice this year. And earlier this month, Biden said poor kids are just as smart as white kids, and last weekend he mistakenly said he met with survivors of the February 2018 Parkland, Florida school shooting while vice president. even though he had left office more than a year before the attack. And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Review for August 23, 2019. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.